The following transmission contains unencrypted instances of explicit language. Mature audiences are cleared to proceed.
Welcome back. This is part 2 of our tradecraft analysis of the Bourne Supremacy. If you missed out on part 1 of our analysis of the Bourne movies, there's a simple solution. You might want to hit the subscribe button on your favorite podcast app so that you can always stay caught up with us.
Just in case you want to jump in right here, though, I'll give a quick recap. Someone in the CIA stole a couple $1 million some years back, and they want to frame Jason Bourne for killing a guy that was going to tell them about that. A failed attempt to silence Jason is what's going to drag him back into the whole spy versus spy bullshit that he tried to walk away from. We resume here with discussing the tradecraft of how Karl Urban's character arranges the frame job in this episode of Spies Like Us.
Karl Urban kind of does this weird thing where he places demolitions. They don't really explain what it is until later, but it looks like some sort of electrical things that cause a power outage.
Right. What he wants is the power outage so he can go in and do the hit. But he places 2 explosives, and one of them fails to go off. But somebody figures this out later,
right? Which
is fine. But this is his play to make sure that they end up finding a fingerprint, so that they go off chasing Jason Bourne and think that that's the target, which is really clever. But I want to quibble. I want to say I don't understand where he would have got that fingerprint, and I don't want to spend a bunch of podcast time trying to theorize on the different ways he could. I just think that's a kind of a loose thread in the sweater.
Uh-huh.
More specifically, I don't think fingerprints actually work this way. I don't. I know you can take a piece of tape and pick up a fingerprint. I don't think you can use that piece of tape to plant a fingerprint. And even if you could, I fucking know that the CIA could tell the difference between I really do. I really
right,
do.
Right.
Between a real fingerprint and one that was taped on. It's fine for the story. It's minus spy points for the plot if I want to quibble, which is what this podcast is all about, and that's why it gets my Todd's worst tradecraft number 2 for Bourne Supremacy.
But I mean, they do get plus spy points framing Bourne, because this is their big plot to cover everything up, because the heat's coming on because there's a new informant.
It's a great play. It's a great diversion.
Yeah. Did the Russians really know about Bourne's kind of cave that he was living in India type of thing for a long time, or did they figure it out somehow? They didn't really explain how they knew where he was.
Let's take 2 theories, right? Either the KGB has known where Bourne was for a long time, and just chose not to do anything about it. I mean, I could see why they wouldn't choose to do anything about it. Let him live in India, whatever. Theory 1 falls apart a little bit, only if the CIA had any interest in following up on where Bourne was. If the KGB could find him, the CIA could as well.
Yeah.
I think.
Oh, absolutely.
Theory 2 is that they, had to work fast here, they just found out about Pamela Landy's operation. They're like, holy shit, we got to do something about this. And so they, very quickly, cock up this plan to frame Bourne and then kill him, in which case they've also got to find him really fast, which means in that case that he was easy to find.
Right. Which is the whole point of him going to India in the first place, was to not be found. So I'm not really sure how they would have picked up on it, and I don't think we're shown that at all.
Once Karl Urban does get to India, it annoys me only let's say only on the 7th watch of the movie does it annoy me. But it's pure random chance that he spots Karl Urban on the street. It easily could have gone a different way, where Karl Urban had gotten the drop on Bourne instead of the other way.
But then we don't get that cool car chase. which
Oh, yeah.
alludes to the other car chase.
Yeah, we have
You
to
know,
have.
because Bourne loses the first car chase, and then Urban loses the second car chase. You know,
I really like cutting through the field because the vehicle that Jason and Marie are in can handle that, but not the
right,
Hyundai that Carl Urban is driving.
right,
But also, like, I love the way he adapts so quickly to
right.
that situation, and immediately, just sees the situation. I would say also too, though, like, weird thing, Carl Urban is badass in this movie, right?
Absolutely.
He's super portrayed as being almost Bourne's equal,
Yeah.
which I feel kind of undercuts the whole, like, backstory of Treadstone having created these quote unquote super agents.
Uh-huh.
Unless Russia has its own, like, version of Treadstone.
I wouldn't like, ignore that possibility.
I wouldn't rule that out at all.
Yeah.
It's definitely plus 5 points for Carl, since he clearly did his homework on the geography. And when he gets cut off by the car situation, that his car can't go through the field, he immediately knows, like, where they're going, the only place they can go, and he's got a sniper rifle ready to catch him at the bridge. If he can't get close to him, which probably would have ended badly for him too.
Right.
If
Right,
he
but
had
what
actually caught up with Bourne and got into close combat with him,
right.
I think Bourne would have come out on top there.
Oh, absolutely. But what's cool is, like, from the cutoff, he pulls out a bag with his sniper rifle, and the bag is like the same color as his shirt.
Yeah.
Definitely plus spy points for that one.
I really like that little detail, because he also needs to blend in.
Yeah.
And when he's walking up on the bridge to see if Bourne's gonna pop up out of the water or something,
Yeah.
he can stand there. He's just a tourist with this cocky shirt and this cocky colored bag over his shoulder.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, like, Roger Ebert had mentioned that one of the funny things, this is weird, like, Roger Ebert's given minus 5 points for the film in his review for the fact that Jason is wearing the exact same clothes everywhere he goes.
Yeah, I know. Right.
He's making no attempt to disguise himself at all.
Yeah, like on the train. Later in the movie, he's on the train, and like his passport, like the train op guy. What are those guys called that check your tickets and your passports? What, they weren't given the Bourne picture like the entire country of Germany was, or something? Like, versus like in the Americans where they have to get on a train, they completely disguise them. Well, they disguise themselves throughout the whole show, but they're confirming the kill. He stood there and watched, and nobody came out of the water. I mean, it reminds me of like the Disney's Robin Hood, where like Robin Hood had to like hide under the water. But I mean, what's he gonna do? I mean, he should have gone back to Bourne's house to like clear stuff out or find information. I mean, Bourne's obviously not gonna go back to the house.
I think that's where the minus 5 points there come from.
Yeah. But I guess we had to get on to like everything else, right?
Oh yeah, it's perfectly fine for the story. We're just here to pry around the edges.
Yeah.
So here I'm gonna quibble also about Pamela Landy being described as the deputy director of the CIA. She is listed as such in the wiki. You pointed out it was Nikki in the tunnel below Alexanderplatz where she first identified her as a task force chief, but then a moment later does say she's the deputy director.
Yeah.
There's a few reasons I don't think it makes sense. The fact that she needs to go to the director and ask for level 5 SCI access, secure compartmentalized information, I feel like it's weird. I don't know exactly all the exact details of how the deputy director and the director of the CIA interact, but I don't think that she should need to be going to the director to get this kind of access.
She seems more like a capo in like a kind of mafia situation than a deputy director, secondhand man type or woman in this case, where she needs to get that kind of access.
More damning, I think, is the way that Brian Cox talks to her in general. Like when in their first meeting, he says, like, this is way above your pay grade. Who is he to tell her that?
Right. That is a very good point.
And later he says, like, you want my desk, huh? Is that what this is about? So
and he's not the director.
Right.
There might be other departments involved that she has to get requests like that for. But I think she is the deputy director, and I think the movie did not do a good job in doing its hierarchical research.
Some mistakes were made somewhere.
Yeah.
Like some of these things don't go with the others. I want to close out that part of it by saying, well, in 2004, there had never been a female deputy director of the CIA, which, that's points for my case.
Right.
Couple little points.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody is in the theater saying, like, hey, wait a second.
Right. Are those one of those icebox moments that Hitchcock talked about? Yeah.
Right.
Wait a minute. There's never been a woman.
Wait, this is supposed to be 2004?
Yeah.
Hold on. What do you take me for? I want my money back.
Yeah.
I don't think that's the situation. But we have had two female deputy directors by now. The first was Avril Haines, appointed by Obama in 2013. Gina Haspel was the second, appointed by Trump, and she is currently the director of the CIA.
Oh, is she the first female director?
She is the first female CIA director. So,
wow.
Say what you want about Trump, but he is responsible for breaking that particular glass ceiling.
There's probably those like super classified documents that have probably been and I'm sure there's been documents destroyed at some point or lost or misplaced or whatever.
Oh, well, sure. Well, who knows? Like, she says she needs level 5 access. Maybe, some of the Treadstone stuff is level 20.
Yeah, or like level S or whatever, and maybe that's where Abbott is. He's in like the special division where it's not in the like public hierarchy or something.
Very possible. Yeah. Maybe it's so secret it doesn't have a level.
Ooh, level infinity.
It's got level 9,000.
So, Bourne's, love is murdered. He knows somebody in some intelligence capacity is responsible for it. He's in the middle of India in some beach town, like laying low. He's made his threat in Bourne Identity. They still come after him. Now it's time for him to like come back at them. And how does he do it? The first thing he does is walk into an airport and hand his passport with his name at the airport security, which, like as we discussed earlier, this omnipresent like network of information that like raises red flags everywhere, gets set off. So he specifically shows up to the airport and goes, hey, guys, guess what? I am in this specific place right specifically now, and come and get me.
It's just a tiny, tiny blip on the global radar, but he knows that that's enough because he knows, again, he doesn't have any information. He needs information. How's he going to get it? He's going to have to use the machine against itself.
Right, exactly, which is what he does. And he gets pulled in to like a holding room, and Bourne's like full on stonewalling him, like doesn't say a word, just stares off into space. He's still trying to call. Then a phone call comes into that guy, and that guy answers, and it's and the guy's talking, and Bourne's listening to the conversation. The phone as soon as they finish the conversation, Bourne fucking rips the phone out of his hand, knocks him out, fucking like pulls out like a chip from the phone, which is probably like a SIM card or whatever, hooks it up to his own little thing, to his own phone, and then like busts out of the building, or takes that guy's car keys, busts out of the building, finds that guy's car, then replaces the plates, drives out, and now he has traced that phone call, which gets him. He now has Landy's name and phone number.
Right, and he's done more than that. Whatever it was with his little chip that he did, he like cloned the SIM card so that whatever is going through to that call like will also come to his phone.
Right, and so when they call back, he can listen into the conversation.
I don't know if that technology actually exists, but it's plus spy points.
Yeah, massive plus spy points.
The whole thing about him going from zero information to, where we're going, where he has the great scene where he's, got the sniper rifle and he's right on top of them.
Right.
It goes in two parts, and this is part one of that. And part one, like you just said, I mean, crazy plus spy points for all of the shit that he's doing. I would love to have fit it into my top three, but I feel like I can't because I think my number one worst tradecraft is them taking him into the interrogation room without searching his bag or relieving him of all this spy stuff. I mean, they would have found, if they had, just for instance, right? They would have found some very suspicious stuff, including a fake license plate.
Yeah, collections of fake passports, stacks of cash. I don't remember if he brought his pistol with him. Well, that's one of the things that bugs me is where he gets these firearms from. But whatever.
No, I got that. I got that one. He switches his bags at the airport. He switches when he gets between phase one of this operation and phase two. He goes to the airport to a locker. He puts in the bag that he just used for phase one and pulls out another gear bag for phase two.
Oh, so he kind of has stuff inside of borders wherever he needs to be, right?
Plus spy points. I always love that kind of shit.
But the fact that he didn't check his bag. Look, he just walked into an international airport, and pulled out and got flagged. So they immediately pull him into a room.
Right. And, all they know at this point is person of interest. They don't know yet until he gets the call from Landy that, this is a priority one target, armed and dangerous. I mean,
right.
that's when he gets that information that Bourne says it knows that it's his time to act.
Right. And so there's that standpoint that they would have just brought him into the room immediately and figured stuff out. But on your side, I don't think the interrogation would have started until they searched his bag.
It could come down to Italian law. Maybe Jason Bourne chose this particular Naples location to become a blip on the screen because he knew what the procedures were in Italy. And it also wouldn't be surprising because, the EU in general has a lot more protections against, search and seizure and takes, personal privacy much more seriously than we do currently in the US. I like to think of Jason Bourne as someone that even if they had searched his bag, he also had a plan for that. Remember, he's got to do something here.
Right. Because he's got no information whatsoever.
And he's
got to narrow down the information.
So even if they had found the stuff in his bag and he wasn't able to pull out this power play, maybe there's another play that he had chess-like down the line.
Right.
That's what I like to think.
Oh, absolutely. But I feel you on when the hero wins because of one thing. And I have a few things to say about that later.
I don't know. I'm fine with it if the hero has no choice but to try this,
Right.
which is, I feel like is the case here.
Right.
But I don't like it when in so many movies I feel like the hero puts everything on the line to take this huge risk, just because they basically know that the scriptwriter has got their back.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. What's it called? Plot armor. I think that's what they call.
Right?
They call that. That's what they call it. Like in anime, is the plot armor, where
That's
like
a great term.
yeah, the hero just can't lose because of the plot armor.
And I think that's such a great term for what we were talking about before about just comparing Bond and Bourne and Ethan Hunt. I feel like Bond and Ethan Hunt are wearing a shit ton of plot armor, and Bourne really just doesn't feel like he is. It exists. I'm not saying the plot armor isn't there.
Right.
But you can do a movie where it's very obvious.
Oh, I see. Yeah, I see what you mean.
Like
it's not screaming in your face the whole time, right? Yeah.
From what I've seen, I haven't seen all. Well, I've seen a couple of Fast and Furious movies, but I think that those guys are like just plot armored up like motherfuckers.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Which is fine, if you just want that thrill ride and you want that roller coaster of a movie, that's fine. Those movies are great. There's nothing wrong with them. It's just a different style. Right, and I think that Jason Bourne's plot armor is at least like their attempts to disguise it. The second part of Bourne's master plan to go from zero information to fucking full information on what's going on is where he uses that hacked cell phone to isolate Landy's isolate exactly who Pam Landy is.
At the airport, he's at a payphone and just starts calling like she hotels until he, finds one that says, yeah, Pamela Landy is staying there. And then he just shows up to the hotel, calls her phone on his cell phone, and then she hangs up, or she answers, he kind of hangs up or whatever. And then, oh no, he calls the room, asks for Pamela Landy. They transfer him to her room. Then he walks up to the desk and asks the, the concierge to dial her room. And she dials the number and he sees her dial the number. And that's how he got her specific room number.
He could always just walk up to the desk, ask them to dial the room and get that information, get the room number.
Right.
That would be fine, right?
Right.
But what would be the problem with that if he didn't also tie up Pamela Landy's line?
They would say, hey, there's a gentleman here for you, and she would be alerted to the fact that somebody's looking for her.
Plus 5 points. That's my number one bet. That's my number one best tradecraft right there.
And I love that move. And now he's got her, and completely knows where she is, who she is, and can watch her. But I gave this my number one spy points, my number one best spy point, or my number one best tradecraft. I want to go over the entire thing from Naples to here.
Let's hear it.
And not specifically the chain of events, but the fact that he bid his time, and each step of the way he got more and more and more and more and more information. And in a typical movie that you could go out and see anywhere, it doesn't matter if it's a spy movie or an action movie or whatever, in a very typical movie where the hero finds the guy, right? The first thing they're going to do is kick down the door and stick a gun in their face. And I was the whole time watching this movie waiting for that moment, and it never came. This entire trail of leading up to Pamela Landy and finding her hotel room, and then not doing what we see in a movie where he's just gonna like be a desperado and start guns a-blazing, like, who are you? What do you want? Who do you work for? No, what does he do? He fucking finds out where their headquarters are, sets up like a sniper post like on a building way the fuck somewhere else, and then calls her while he's got scope on everybody in the room. That's what gets my number one best.
Just the lightning speed with which he goes from zero information to full information is just disgustingly fun to watch.
Yeah. Oh, it was it was so exciting to sit through. I really enjoyed like every minute of it. I was like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. He's figuring out the pieces on the board before he makes his play, and his first initial play isn't really the passport. His passport is getting the information. His first initial play is opening up negotiations on a rooftop with a sniper scope pointed at everyone in the building.
Mm-hmm.
But this is what leads into my number one worst.
Testify.
We talked about the big machine and the capacity of this big machine and the big machine's omniscience. This is a very capable intelligence agency with like a network all over the world. They're not going to have their entire team sitting on top of a corporate building in front of windows, like broad open windows to where everyone on their team could be identified. Like, and it just really like it's just everywhere to see. I don't think this is something that one realistically would happen in real life. I don't think that team would be sitting on top of a giant building in front of the windows where like any sniper could pick them off. Because
I like that you in previous discussions you compared this to the Most Wanted Man team and their headquarters, which had no windows.
None. And they're like in some warehouse which is completely unseen.
Who the fuck knows where that underground bunker is?
Right. I mean, like even if you're gonna like go corporate level, like buy some fucking like shades or something, get some like tinting on your window, like for fuck's sake, like
simple stuff. Tinting is an easy one right there.
Right.
But yeah, I love the idea of Jason Bourne playing all his cool shit through Naples and doing all his moves and following Pamela Landy, and he finally gets there and they just like pull the shades and he's like, oh fuck, these guys are good. Like, god damn it. My whole plan is fucking shot by Venetian blinds.
Yeah. Yeah, and then at that point, he would have to like watch everybody coming out of the building, or just like completely tail Landy for like whatever, or like realistically, he would watch everybody coming out of the building. He probably would have spotted Nikki and Abbott for sure, right? The rest of the team, he probably wouldn't have been able to.
Oh, he wouldn't have spotted Abbott because at this point, he knows nothing about Abbott. I think that's important.
Oh, I thought he knew Abbott from.
Nope.
Oh.
He had only been handled by Conklin,
Uh-huh.
and he never sees or gets any information about the Brian Cox character
Uh-huh.
up until this point. He has no idea yet, which I think we're got to quibble on a little bit later.
Right.
But he does, and this is like something that just kind of slightly falls into his lap. I mean, yeah, he already has a plan, as we know, that he's gonna make contact with someone.
Right.
Probably noticing that Nikki is in the room, because that is someone he does know from the first movie that is involved with Treadstone.
Right.
And so asking for her to be the person that he's going to meet makes sense in a lot of reasons.
This made your best number two and my best number two for that reason. I think she's probably has information, and she's probably the most reliable source of that information, because she was servicing, in a capacity to help people with problems and she had a lot of information that was pretty sketch, but she was like helping these guys, so she probably had some amount of empathy for these people. So this is his like best contact.
Right. And also, out of the people that you could pick to ask, meet with you, like at the very least, I'm not 100% sure, but I think he knows that she's a junior agent and someone that he can like easily manage. Like imagine if, he just asked for like you to send just someone and they send they're like, okay, we'll send Carl Urban.
Yeah.
That's
Right?
That's not what you want.
Right.
The
I think it was a good setup writing wise as well, because they had known she had we're talking Team CIA, that they had known through Treadstone, files. Landy had figured out the Treadstone files that she had dealt with a lot of these guys, and she probably had keen insights into Bourne's persona or psyche, and would be a great asset. And so she was brought in on the team. So I think writing wise, this was a really good setup.
Sure. And do you mind if I spoil a little bit of Ultimatum for you?
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Okay. Nikki and Bourne were actually like involved with each other romantically before his amnesia.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh, so that might have like subconsciously snuck up on him. Like, this is a person I really can trust.
Because Ultimatum is really about when he actually finds out who he was before Treadstone, and and she was part of that.
Right, and but that's really good writing on their part for the third film, that they backtracked and paid attention to make sure the pieces fit.
I think so. Now, the way that he gets her, I mean, obviously, like, they're putting a piece of bait on the hook and they want to catch him, the fish. That whole like way that he does that with the trains and the big demonstration comes in.
Yeah.
Before he calls Pamela Landy, he saw the posters on the walls with the date of the time of the demonstration.
Oh, wow. I didn't notice that. That's really cool.
So he didn't just pick the place, he picked the place and the time that he knew would become unexpectedly chaotic. I mean, it's plus 5 points. I'm also folding that into my number 2 best.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I didn't catch that. That was a good catch.
I only caught it on like my 7th watch of the movie, so you can be excused.
Yeah. Brian Cox is an interesting one. Something's up, and he's actively, just from the dialogue, he's actively trying to avoid certain topics. And I think he played it really, really well. Especially like he was like, you keep talking about like you read this stuff in a book.
That's one of my favorite lines from this movie. 100%.
It's a great line.
Brian Cox is fucking awesome.
He's not giving away too much information.
I wanted to sum up my plus 5 points for him in his last play is and he fucking Brian Cox is so good, just fucking charging across the office, when he's having this argument with Landy about this and just pointing his finger right at her and saying like, you're believing what you're hearing, blah, 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 blah. But, he also said that, you're in charge of Treadstone. He knows you're after him. And in the sense of self-preservation, you might want to start with that.
Yeah, right.
And that's
right.
They're getting close to a place he doesn't want them to be. So this is the final play. It's
this is his Hail Mary attempt at her, and it's not like blatantly obvious.
If you keep doing this, you might die.
Yeah, right. Just stay away. And it's not like he's not making it overtly obvious to Pamela that he is trying to hide something.
And this whole time he's been undermining her, he's been CIA mansplaining like everything to her,
Right. But I mean, like, I think there's some major minus spy points here. Because they could have just let it fall on Conklin, because Conklin was already dead.
It's missed opportunity spy points.
Right.
They clearly don't know any better, unless, like we talked about, unless there's more in the files that, my assumption was she knows everything, because she got level 5 access, but
Mm-hmm.
who knows, maybe there's level 10 access, like we talked about. I mean, again, that is his first meeting in there, so at that point, maybe he still thinks like he can just like shove it all under the rug.
Right.
He doesn't realize just how deep the waters are. So that's
Well,
why I don't.
he also mentioned that he was close to retirement, so he might be, just like, just get this out of the way so I can leave. Like I'm done. I got my 20 mil. I'm ready to retire.
In a perfectly clear thinking Brian Cox with all the information at his disposal, he could have realized that he could just let this play out and not fuck around with it. Even if they were to get to Bourne doesn't know anything. Well, of course, Brian Cox doesn't actually know what Bourne knows, does he? He's not. They don't exactly know all the details of his amnesia. They don't know how deep his amnesia goes.
Right. But I'm sure he assumes that he knows everything or enough to implicate him.
Right. So in that case, yeah. So yeah, I definitely don't want to give him minus spy points for just letting it all play out. He knows what he doesn't know, and what he doesn't know is what Bourne knows.
Right.
So he's got to, like he said to Pamela Landy, like tie it off. Just tie it off. That's all he ever does. Tie it off.
Yeah.
Shit goes bad, you just kill everyone and tie it off and shut up and never talk about it again.
Right.
And retire in a year.
But I do want to talk about my number 3 worst. The guy, I don't remember his name, but the guy that was under Abbott.
That was Conklin's assistant.
He's the one that figures out that the explosive devices on the electrical piping were obviously an attempt to frame, because the second one that didn't go off, the pipe it was attached to wouldn't actually do anything. And then that's the one that has the fingerprint. And it was made to not go off. This probably was the dialogue about how he felt about Conklin, like being loyal and to the cause and stuff. Why he would have trusted Abbott, but I don't know. It kind of bugged me. So this is kind of a shaky. That's why I made it my number 3, because it's kind of shaky. But like this is what ends up getting him killed.
Sure. I give him plus spy points for figuring out that the bomb didn't make sense.
Right. Especially since if they're going after Bourne, somebody in that team should have been like, why would Bourne leave a fingerprint? Especially after Nikki made a big point about they don't ever do anything at random. They always have a plan. Like, well, somebody should have been like, well, why the hell was his fingerprint there then? There shouldn't have been any fingerprints.
I can sit down and definitely like just watch a movie for what it is.
Yeah.
But this podcast is about teasing out these little details.
Yeah.
It's fine. Like the fingerprint has to be there, otherwise we don't have a movie.
Right. He checks into this really nice hotel that a diplomat would have stayed at, and gets a specific room number, and then that's taken, so he gets the one across the hall. He breaks into the one across the this triggers a huge police invasion. They got to pull people out of the rooms. They bring like the SWAT team, or the Berlin SWAT team, whatever they're called, in and he's he now has to go through this whole.
It's a fun action scene.
Yeah, it is a fun action scene. It's a fun action scene, and that's probably why from a writing perspective, it's important. But I don't think Bourne would have done something like this. I think he probably would have found some way into that room without checking in. It's not that big of a deal. I put it as my number 2 worst. But for the story, it was really important because we have to explain, like writing perspective, we have to explain the amnesia, and his first hit is a big deal.
The more we do this podcast, the more we see that sometimes the plot just has to take a bullet for the story.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Him visiting the hotel, that's story. It's not plot.
Yeah, and that's what kind of really develops his character. So I'm like not super angry about it, but like nitpicking from a more objective standpoint, I think it was a bad idea for him, and I don't think he wouldn't have gone to the hotel, or he would have found a way into that room without checking in and getting his face looked at by everybody.
Even after watching this movie as many times as I have, I am still not exactly sure how Bourne ends up in Brian Cox's office, in time for him to record the conversation between him and Gretkov.
Uh-huh.
It doesn't seem like there was any like actual connective tissue to that, but it's fine. Like the movie has accomplished its goal as a story so
Right.
far, and it's just basically time for us to get out of here and as Brian Cox would say if he was a scriptwriter, tie it off.
Yeah.
It's minus 5 points for the film. That's a missed opportunity, but yeah, this is one of those details I don't particularly care about. It
Right.
doesn't undermine the story at all.
Right.
And then of course we gotta get our action scene. We gotta get our fucking car fight, between Carl Urban and Bourne. And this is another thing the Bourne films brought to us is fucking great car chases. Oh my God. Did the Bourne films elevate this part of the genre?
Yeah.
It's fucking great.
Yeah. Well, the car chase was fun because he goes after like, the other guy. Bourne's the one that really ties up the knot, so to speak. But I felt like after Cox like kills himself, the story kind of lulled a little bit. He goes back to find the daughter of the parents he murdered. So I don't know. It kind of lost me towards the end. But that car chase scene was great. It was nice for him to get some closure, but yeah.
Oh, with visiting the daughter. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
that's really I mean, it's weird, and I'm happy that he's getting his closure. I feel like there's some way he could have done it without scaring the shit out of that girl, but like he says, like, she's been told a story that her mother killed her father and then killed herself, and that's got to be its own kind of trauma, right? That she's
Right.
carrying around. And he's thinking, or at least that's what he says, like, I would want to know the truth.
Right.
And, he's man enough to say, I did it, and I'm sorry, and I can't take it back, but I don't know. I don't know. That scene is really hard to measure
Yeah.
as far as who's getting how much out of it psychically.
Right. What's cool about his apology though is he doesn't go, "Hey, I went through amnesia," and "Hey, like I didn't know what I was doing." Like he basically
Right,
like,
he does. Yeah, he doesn't make any excuses, which is wonderful. I think for the character.
but whatever. Still a great movie. I enjoyed it.
Agents, please report for debriefing on this operation. The director will see you now.
So Treadstone is, to me, it's the fantastic element in the movies.
Right.
Like I don't think Treadstone is realistic whatsoever. Let's compare it for a moment to La Femme Nikita, where we have this agency that, their whole plan is like, oh, we'll find some heroin addicted nihilists and so have nothing to lose, and they're facing the death sentence unless they play ball, and then let's turn them into super assassins.
Right.
That's pretty fucking fantastic,
Right.
in my opinion. when I use the word fantastic, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not saying like fantastic,
You mean like
but
fantastical?
I like the fact that these movies don't really let that element intrude too far into our appreciation of what Jason Bourne is doing. Like, it's just there in the background.
It kind of feels like a Spectre thing, but it also has that like deep state thing, which is way more modernized than Spectre. But it also kind of had this looming Spectre feel, even though specifically they state in the film that Treadstone had been like shut down. Uh-huh.
It's just kind of there in the background. I think of Spectre as like Cobra, that G.I. Joe is eternally fighting against.
Right,
And,
right.
it's just always going to be there. It's all, we can foil their plots here or there, but like Hydra, it'll sprout out like different arms and it'll always be there for an enemy for you if you want to be a franchise.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
And make 12 or 25 fucking movies
Right.
fighting the same enemy over and over and over, and the
Right.
audience is never going to say like, hey, wait a second, like,
Yeah.
shouldn't someone have won by now?
Yeah. Right. But I mean, like in real life, there's a lot of stuff like that. What I really liked was Matt Damon's statement about how Bourne's amnesia is America's amnesia. Like, we forgot who we are. And I think it's mainly because of the dirty underwear that America had, and that has been coming up and is constantly shoved in our faces.
It feels like a lot of things in the zeitgeist, of American thoughts about what we're doing and our place in the world involved a loss of a defined enemy,
Mm-hmm.
a loss of, being able to fight them face to face. I don't know. I think there's hidden in the DNA of the Bourne movies, an acknowledgement of America feeling like we've kind of lost our way, and fighting through the fog to decide who our actual enemies are.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Like, and I think I really like that kind of analysis.
I love Jason Bourne.
Yeah.
I really do. He's like top shelf hero for me. I feel bad that I haven't seen Ultimatum. That I haven't gone back and like really investigated like how the trilogy ends. But to be honest, like Identity and Supremacy is all I really fucking need.
Yeah.
And they're both, even though we're only rating Supremacy right now, I'm gonna hit it. I'm gonna hit the button I have not hit yet in this.
Are we
podcast.
getting a 5 out of you?
This is my 5, buddy.
Oh, hell yeah.
You can't. How can I call a movie that I have watched now 5 times just
Right.
for fun,
Right.
watched another 4 times
Right.
to analyze, and I still want to keep it on my shelf, and I still want to watch it over and over and over again.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is my 5, buddy.
Hell yeah. I like you. I had so much fun watching this. I had a lot of fun watching this. But like I said, it really lulls at the end after Cox killed himself, and I feel like it should have ended there, or maybe something. I don't know. There's something missing for me, so I can't quite give it a 5. So I'm gonna go ahead with a 4, because I think a lot of our tradecraft is a lot of fun, and I think you and I both had a lot of fun talking about this movie. But I don't know. There's just something about after Cox kills himself, it just kind of,
You lose interest.
yeah. I was like, the movie should have ended there somewhere, or they should have tied up the loose ends differently. We didn't need another car chase scene. You know what I mean? Even though it was great, it was fun. You didn't need it. So either stuff should have happened before Cox killed himself, or the loose end should have been tied up a little bit differently towards the end. I don't know. I kind of was done. Yeah, but so I'm giving this a 4 because I highly recommend this movie, and I think you'll have a lot of fun watching it.
All right, I'm just checking your previous ratings too. So you're rating it alongside Munich.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whereas your 4.5s, those are A Most Wanted Man and Miss Sloane, and those
Absolutely.
those
No.
yeah,
No.
those sound right. I think
Absolutely.
you're on solid ground.
Like if you're looking for that intricate like chess piece play, you're
Yo,
gonna
100%. Yeah.
yeah. So
Yeah, I totally respect where you're coming from on that.
yeah.
And let's redact this baby. My number 3 best, just overall the pure professionalism and proficiency and reach of the CIA and international intelligence agencies. It's just really nice to see the adversary working at such a high level and a believable level. It's just great. My number 2 best, planning the meeting in Alexanderplatz, because he knows that the demonstration is coming, and secondarily choosing Nikki when that option arises as the person that he's going to meet. That's my best number 2 tradecraft. My number 1 is the way he isolates Pamela Landy's hotel room, especially by making that fake call, which, he could have done it the easy way, but then that would alert her. But placing the fake call maybe, if she was really on her toes.
Yeah. Which being a deputy director, she should be, right?
Yeah, well, it's still my number 1 best.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Let's hear about your best.
My number 3 was the toaster explosion. It was super fun to watch. My number 2 was Bourne choosing Nikki out of the entire team because she's probably the most reliable source of information for Treadstone, because she probably doesn't have an agenda, and on top of that, she probably has some amount of empathy for, the Bourne types in the Treadstone operation. My number 1 encompasses the entire tracing from the airport where he hands his real passport at Naples all the way down to the phone call that you pointed out to your number 1. But it really hinges on him not just kicking down a door. He just patiently, each step of the way, gains more and more information before he opens up negotiations. And I think that was really, really cool.
Absolutely. My worst number 3, easily. It's such a quibble, but don't route $20 million of CIA money through Moscow of all fucking places. My number 2 worst, which might be on a little bit more solid ground. I don't buy the whole fingerprint thing. It makes for a great story. It drives the engine of the story. But I'm never going to believe that the CIA forensics experts can't tell the difference between a fingerprint that, someone put there and one that was placed there by tape. My number 1 worst, even though I think you accurately punched a couple holes in this one, but, it's where I came to it with, they should have.
No, I think you have a really good point with it.
I mean, they should have searched Bourne, or taken his stuff away in Naples, because that would have made his whole plan kind of fall apart.
Right.
But I respect I respect our discussion that we had about how that actually might have made sense, and also especially if it's true that he specifically chose Naples, because he could have chosen any country
right
that he wanted in the entire European Union. So what I like to think now is that he chose Naples because he knew what their security protocols were.
It's a good point. You know, I think I could go either way. You know, and I think that's why it was a good discussion. So like, don't you know? I think that's a good number one because that would have shut everything down. But like you said, I'm sure he had like a chess piece up his sleeve somewhere. You know, if that didn't work out. My worst, my number 3 was Conklin's assistant trusting Abbott. That's still kind of shaky for me. I would have thought there would have been some other protocol or that he would have trusted. I don't know. It's tough for me, but that's what got him killed. So whatever. My number 2 was Bourne going to the hotel. Again, writing wise, I think it's very important and it really helped the development of his character. However, I think the Jason Bourne character would have found another way into that room. My number 1 though is like the whole chain of command and team and headquarters setting up their office in front of these broad open windows that anywhere anybody could see. And I feel like this would not be protocol in real life. I feel like, dude, put up some blinds, get some tinting, find a warehouse somewhere. It just, but, you know, then again, I don't know that we really would have had a movie.
So how you want to redact this one with a low rating, meaning very highly realistic spy movie and a high number between 1 and 5.
So I know our redaction,
essentially a documentary.
Right. Yeah. Right. Yeah.
A trustworthy documentary.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
You get a 5.
Yeah. Yeah. Or like, I guess C-SPAN would put us at like a 0.5 or something. I don't know. This is kind of a tough one. I don't think it's uber realistic, right? I think there's enough like
it's a weird mix.
Fantastic moments.
It's a weird mix.
There's a lot of fantastical moments, right? But they're not crazy out there like, you know, Bond or like especially not Our Man Flint, right? But I think it might be more realistic than The Man Who Knew Too Much.
Like the operations that are played, like okay, maybe the Carl Urban thing is iffy, but definitely like the way that the CIA plays their thing out,
right,
is like super good,
right,
solid.
Well, I mean, like let's look at it this way. You know, we put Miss Sloan as a 2.
Yeah.
We put the Good Shepherd at a 2. And then we put The Man Who Knew Too Much at a 3. So I think it's more realistic than The Man Who Knew Too Much. And I think it's less realistic than The Good Shepherd or Miss Sloan. So I think a 2.5 sounds really good.
That's where I'm landing as well. Let's call it 2.5.
All right. Sounds good.
All right.
And that's the end of our show. Thanks for listening. If you'd like to reach out to us, you can find us on Twitter at spies_like_us. Visit us on our website at www.spieslikeus.net. You know, find out about upcoming episodes. Also, what will really help us out is if you give us a review on wherever you found our podcast, either on iTunes or your Android app or YouTube or wherever you listen to us. Even if you didn't like the show, just give us a review. It'll help us, give us feedback so we can make the show better. And it can also help other people who haven't found the show yet find out about us. Hey, Moira, initiate Protocol 9.
Protocol 9 initiated. This podcast will self-destruct in 20 seconds. The preceding transmission sampled the songs Ice Cold by Audionautics, Enter the Party by Kevin MacLeod, and sound effects from freesound.org. Attributions and links are found at spieslikeus.net. Editing by Todd Hostetler.